Michael, thank you. I'm going to bring up the New York Times story. Kelly Meyer at the White House was just telling us that the White House is saying this is not true, but the Times on its website this afternoon crosses a story about Biden advisors discussing how to convince him to step aside. What would you say about what might be going on here with some of the people that are close to the president? Any insight?
Well, those are really accomplished reporters on that byline. So I wouldn't want to undermine or try to disprove their reporting. And I don't know what's going on in the White House. But look, I imagine that there are people who are probably giving the president doses of political reality. And you know what? That should be the case. Everybody should be honest with the president and not fear giving him bad news. I know that sometimes people do, and it's expected. I had a hard time even giving my boss bad news, but the stakes are really high, and now he's not just the future of the party; he's the leader of the party, and he has an entire party to think about. And there's a lot of pressure on him and on the team around him to make sure that he does what's best for the Democratic Party.
The number that stood out to me the most in that ABC Washington Post poll that came out today was the fact that 62% of either Democrats or what they call Democrat-leading independents want President Biden to drop out, meaning his own people. Whereas for Trump, that's in the teens. It's way down there. There it is, 62 versus 16. So you mentioned your old boss, the First Lady. Is there a role she might play in here? We keep hearing over and over that it would have to be somebody like her who would go talk to the president about the reality that you referenced.
Yeah, and I've been trying to explain a little bit that the First Lady doesn't view herself as an advisor or a law or like a policy or a lawmaker or a policy or a political advisor. She's his spouse, and she has this is her 15th campaign. And she has always supported him the way he supported her, keeping her career through being second lady, through first lady, getting 3 advanced degrees. They haven't ever been the type of couple that would get in the way of each other's aspirations. And all I can tell people is that this is his decision.
Right.
Now, does she have a role? Absolutely. Does he care and respect, and does he take into account everything she says? You bet. But it's more than just her, and we shouldn't expect her to put the fate of the Democratic Party on her shoulders.
Yeah.
But his sister Val, Senator Dodd, his close advisors Mike Donnellan and Ron Klain and Mark Gittenstein, look, they'll all be talking to each other, and they will all give him unfiltered, honest advice.
I can't imagine the president himself wouldn't understand the situation he's been in 50-some years in politics. And I mean, if he doesn't, he would have, obviously bigger issues. And that would be the issue. But do you think, because you were talking earlier about how people have sometimes, it seemed like you were hinting at the fact there's a lot of kind of yes men around him. Maybe the bad news doesn't get to him. But I mean, he's got to know what's going on here, right? Or
well, I think we all are hoping that he does, and I don't know what information or internal data that they have that might say different. I don't even know if that matters right now.
I don't think it matters, but can I just cut you off for a second? I mean, I wondered about that, too, because we talked about that earlier. Does it matter? Because my point has been you can either be president or not. You can either, even if you were winning in the polls, it would be tough to argue to someone you're working for, hey, go for it, Mr. President. This will be great if you don't think you can do it,
Yeah. Right now, the perception is that he can't do it, and that's his biggest problem. It was a question that was in doubt before the debate. He confirmed suspicions and made that problem a lot worse for himself because of the debate. Their actions after the debate, the 8 to 9 days of not talking to the press or not giving an interview and not being entirely transparent or drips and drops of transparency, that it has really hurt their credibility, hurt his credibility.
Right.
And this NATO presser tonight, there's a lot of pressure on him and the staff. And I think your reporter was right. I think there are a lot of members who are frankly outraged at their approach to this in the aftermath that are going to be watching, and it could lead to a real damn break it.
Yeah, if it hasn't broken already, I don't know.
Thanks so much for watching. Just go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.